Do you think Nike made a series of sneakers with pizzas on them?
I'm Austin.
And I'm Cloud.
This is We Watch Movies.
This is We Watch Movies, and this is not Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. That'll be next week. But it is something that I don't know if we ever really promised this, but I think it's kind of implied because we tend to wrap up things like this. But we're going to be doing the second, not actually directed by Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movie in a minute. But before we get to that...
Is this the appropriate time for Baby Driver?
Yes.
Okay, I was making sure because I'm like, oh yeah, like I saw Baby Driver and it was really, really good. And I recommend everyone go see it because if you like car chases, it's got car chases. If you like music, it's got music. It's not a musical, so if you're not about that kind of stuff, that's fine because that's not what this is. And then if you want like that like gun shoot 'em up bit, like they've got some stuff like that. If you want some crazy, they've got some crazy. And if you want some good acting, they've got some good acting. This is a really well-rounded movie, and I don't know of anyone who wouldn't enjoy it in some aspect. And I mean like really enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, if language bothers you, it'll bother you.
Yeah.
Because it's a good deal of language.
If language bothers you, why are you listening to us?
I know. I know. But, you know, maybe you know someone who it bothers, and you're like, let's go see Baby Driver, and they just don't know, and they walk in and they're like, that was terrible, all that language, and then you just slap them because they need to get over it. And why are you still friends with them?
I also saw Transformers.
Oh, yes, you did. Yeah.
And...
which actually is directed by Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Or it's allegedly directed anyway.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
I mean, it's not super good. I mean, I'm still trying to get over how bad bits and pieces and just how unimportant some stuff in the movies are. And then, because like it's still beautiful to watch. Like it's really well made. And the way that a lot of the CG is incorporated with the environments and what's real and what's not real, like I think they do a good job with that. But then there's a lot of things in it that's absolutely pointless. And I think that's what brings most of these movies down. I still think 4 is better than it, though. I like 1 and 4. I guess that's the best way to put it. I like the very first one, and I like the fourth one.
3's not terrible.
It's not terrible. Like, I'll watch it. And I like 2 more than you do, but I don't like 2.
Takes very little to like it more than I do.
Yeah.
I do not like it.
And now, our feature presentation.
This week's movie is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. TMNT Out of the Shadows is a 2016 action-adventure comedy film, allegedly, directed by Dave Green, starring Pete Polsky, Alan Richardson, Noel Fisher, Jeremy Howard, Megan Fox, Stephen Armel, Will Arnett, Linda Linney, and Tyler Perry. How about a plot synopsis?
All right, so the Foot Clan, who are actually ninjas instead of mercenaries now, attempt to break the Shredder out of prison. We get to meet Casey Jones, who's a correctional officer. The Turtles have cool gear, like they should. Alien technology for teleportation devices. Trying to become normal so they can fit in with society instead of always having to live in the sewers. A lot of crazy shit happens. Dropping pizza on the basketball floor. I gotta get my words right. The Falcon gets the key to the city. Some shenanigans happen. We get Bebop and Rocksteady. For some reason, they decided to take a tank to Brazil. They fight Commander Crag. Shredder gets frozen. And Tyler Perry gets taken to the facility in Tokyo. And they're still turtles. And they're still in the shadows.
Yes.
So the name is a lie.
The name is a lie. Yeah. It really does kind of seem like everybody screamed and they were like, all right, we'll stop being stupid. I mean, they already listened because, Michael Bay said, they're aliens, and everybody said, no, they're not. And then he said, oh, I guess they're not. So,
Yeah.
But that was really the one concession that they made to what people wanted. And this one does seem a lot more like, let's really do regular turtle stuff, kind of, this time.
Well, he fucked up at the beginning and tried making them aliens, but whenever everyone was just like, nope, fuck you, Bay, he's like, okay, fine, we'll just keep them mutants. But everything else was kind of just shat on. And so, this one comes around, and a lot of the problems are kind of resolved. Like the Foot Clan from the first movie are pretty much just nothing but mercenaries. They just run around with guns and masks and shit. And now we have full-fledged ninjas. We got a fucking sword-wielding, tight leather, just jumping all over the fucking place, like ninjas that we expect the Foot Clan to be from the old cartoons. We get the dump truck, the garbage. The Tortuga brothers. We get it, which was pretty cool. Yeah. What else was there? They actually mention the words ooze, even though it's the purple ooze instead of the fucking mutanogen or whatever. That was retarded. We got they brought in Crag, which was pretty cool. And then, we got Bebop and Rocksteady, which were very commonly used villains for the series. They're just henchmen, but the Warthog and the Rhino, there was a lot of stuff that they had brought in for this movie from the original comics that they didn't even bother looking at for the first movie. So there was a lot of repairs done just to make this one.
Yeah. Well, even just stuff like having Casey Jones be around and Bebop and Rocksteady, just having it not be except for the Turtles and April O'Neil, just totally made up characters you've never heard of before.
Yeah.
Then, well, I mean, I guess there's still Splinter and Shredder and stuff, but still, everybody else was like, what's this Will Arnett guy playing here? What?
Yeah.
I do think his presence in this movie is really unnecessary. And I don't really care about his whole key to the city business. And I know they use it later because he has people know him for being famous. But the also seems like they took a really long time to give him the key to the city because the basketball game they're 1 year ago, and so maybe give him the key to the city right after he saves the city instead of a year later. But
I know, right? It seems a bit odd. As normally with stuff like that, it kind of dies down after a month at the most. And then people kind of remember it, but it's not really a thing. The news moves on, the publicity moves on. There's a lot of stuff that changes. And so that feels weird.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was kind of a big danger situation to the city, but it wasn't like 9/11 happened or something where we have to remember this. But it's also you're interrupting our basketball game. I guess it's halftime because the band runs out, but they're also, instead of the band, they're doing this let him be goofy.
There is
thing.
Pizza on my Nikes.
I know, which.
Product placement.
Well, we're not this. There isn't going to be an in fairness to Michael Bay because I started writing them down and there's only 5, which isn't enough unreasonable that it counts. Because it's only, and there's opportunities where they could show brands and they don't. So it's much more restrained and it's much more just regular amounts like a normal movie.
Do you think Nike made a series of sneakers with pizzas on them? You know, like to celebrate TMNT too. It's like, hey, we're releasing this limited edition turtle sneakers with like slices of pizzas on them.
I feel like Nike releases a limited edition anything they can think of, but probably not that. I'm kind of surprised that, like, you know how when something really bad is going to happen, like you're going to have a giant car crash or some equipment is going to fail or something, companies usually don't want you to use the real name because then they feel like it looks bad for the company. It almost seems kind of weird that they let that happen because it's like, well, but Nikes are so good that you could step on pizza and still keep playing basketball.
No.
And I don't even know, are those the real basketball players for those teams?
I don't keep up with basketball, so I couldn't tell you. I know. We probably have a few people who listen to us that like basketball. That's fine. I'm not a team sports kind of guy, so I don't keep up with any of it. So apologies to anyone I would offend in that manner.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to offend somebody, I'm going to do it on purpose.
Yeah. Now, there is, just because it's a thing that we do, there was an alternate title for this during just before production, and then they announced the actual official title. And it was going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, half shell, which makes no sense as a title.
It does not make sense as a title, but I don't know. It almost sounds better than Out of the Shadows, since Out of the Shadows is a lie.
Yeah. I mean, at least there is a half shell.
Yeah.
Although there really kind of isn't. Like the heroes on a half shell thing. Like, I understand what they mean by it. Yes. But it's a whole shell.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a half a shell. Like, when you have an oyster on the half shell, it's because you took the other half off that was present. It was in two halves. Turtle shells are all one. It's a whole shell.
Yeah.
It just is only round on one side.
And like we know it's a whole shell because when they're falling down the waterfall, we can hear and actively see them pulling their arms and legs into the shell.
Yeah.
Physics just rolls over, just crying and screaming. It's on fire. Like,
I still feel like your shell is probably going to crack from that. Like, I think there's a limit to how high you can drop a turtle from.
Yeah.
But it's at least a concession towards they survive this kind of complaints.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you don't really know what the armor capability of a mutant turtle shell is.
And just a notification to anyone. If there is an armored reptile nearby, do not place it in the water. If anything, place it beside the water, because there's so many people who don't know the differences between a turtle and a tortoise. And I've seen people throw tortoises into the water. That kills them. Like, please don't do that. Like, this isn't
you might die.
Yeah, like this isn't a dog that can swim and shit. Like, nah, you throw it in the water, it's dead. So don't do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, they even say that we're not tortoises, we're turtles. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
They don't explain what the difference is, but they say that there is one. So I guess it's been so long since I've seen Secret of the Ooze. I don't remember. Like, is it pre-established that it's possible to turn them into people? Or is that something they made up for this?
I guess maybe they done something with this in the newer shows, maybe some of the comic series, but this isn't something that I actively remember being a thing.
But it doesn't make sense how they set it up anyway, because the Bebop and Rocksteady thing, I mean, it's still not how DNA works, but they at least give the justification that, there's some dormant gene that ties us to ancestral animals from evolution, and so we can turn people into animals. But they are turtles.
Yeah, like
They
they're
were
still
real turtles. That's all they've ever been is turtles.
Yeah, like they're still animals in that aspect. Like
And
it's
so
not like,
there's no dormant human gene in turtles that for them to
Exactly.
turn into. So that doesn't make any sense the way that they set it up.
Yeah, because I know Donnie makes a few comments about trying to reverse it and engineering some shit, but at the same time, it's not like it's human serum that he's fucking changing. Insert words that make me sound smart. Thank you. Yeah, but even if you were to like reverse engineer it and try to change it up or whatever, like the base principle of the concoction, this ooze, the purple ooze specifically, like no, it doesn't make any sense. Like they use it and it's like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then it ends up being more of a plot device. Just like, do you want to be more human-like or do you want to be who you are? Like you got to make that decision.
Well, I mean, also, I know that it's his character's purpose to know stuff that nobody else knows, but somehow, like, nobody's ever seen anybody teleport before.
Yeah.
There are no teleportation devices. He says that Tyler Perry has been working on one for years, but it's never worked before. And so he looks at the camera footage and says, that looks like a teleportation event. It's like, how do you know what that looks like? You've never seen one. No one's ever seen one. It's the first one that's ever happened. So how do you know that it's a teleportation event? Like it's blue and he disappeared and it looks like technology-y.
Like what if he just vaporized? We don't fucking know.
Yeah. Dead. He understands how teleportation works really well for a thing that doesn't exist. And Tyler Perry didn't do it either, because he's using the piece of the build the Technodrome device to do it. So he didn't actually ever make his teleportation stuff work. Because he's using it from the outside.
He did end up making that little portable one, which I kind of expected Shredder to have used to escape. Because in the first movie, Shredder's a badass. Like he's like really badass. And then they put the armor on him, and then he's even more badass. And in this one, he looks cooler, and we see more of him, but then he just kind of gets blindsided and then frozen. Like, what?
Yeah, well, even before that, he doesn't really do much on his own. Like, he has to be broken out of prison, and then he's told, go and get the other pieces, and so he's doing the job for someone else, even if it's under the promise of getting more power, which is the dumbest ever thing that anybody ever believes that. Because it's like, hey, I'm more powerful enough than you that I can make you do stuff so that we can have more power together. It never happens.
No,
it never ever happens. It's just like, oh well, great, you got me what I want. You die now, or you still remain a henchman or something. It never turns out there. It's all. I get it's just like villains always fall prey to like just the dumbest, like get rich quick scheme level of
other villainy.
Of conning. It's just like what.
I mean, I would have liked to have seen him like try to attack Commander Crag like from behind or something, just out of the blue, where it's like, yeah, I did this to get your Technodrome so I could use it because I'm going to kill you. And like that would have been kind of cool. And then if he got knocked down and frozen, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because then at least we know the Shredder wasn't being a little bitch.
I don't know if they're doing it deliberately. They must be doing it deliberately. That they're jumping out of a plane to do an insane stunt thing to get the thing done they need to get done. And they mention Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
So, like, that's not accidental. It can't be.
Well, they do treat everything else in the world like it's real. So there's real people and everything.
Yeah. And apparently there's real Vin Diesel.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about like Triple X.
Well, it's not even that. I'm thinking Fast 7. and it's almost the same because he's like, I'm not jumping out of the plane because you might die, and so he's Roman.
Yeah,
Like, that's exactly what's going on. And you say, what would Vin Diesel do? He would jump out of the plane and be yelling at you to jump out of the plane. But then it doesn't matter because Tesh has a remote control. So,
got him.
This that the going to Brazil thing. Is it Brazil?
Brazil.
Yeah. So they have a tank. Like, did they bring a tank with them, or did they just like take one from some Brazilian dictatorship or something? Like, I don't know.
Well, like I figured they would have taken the tank with them. I mean, unless they got there and then there was the tank, and because it's like, if they took the plane to Brazil and then they're returning back to New York on the same plane, and the plane can already hold a tank in its cargo, then you'd think they would have taken it with them to begin with. But we don't get anything like that. We just see them in Brazil driving the tank. And that edit was pretty funny. I'm going to give them that. Whenever they pull up to the crash site for the alien tech, it's like, hey, I found it. And then it cuts right to them firing the tank round at it.
Yeah.
So we don't even get to see Bebop walk away from it or anything. It's just an immediate like, found it. Like, they waste no time.
Yeah.
And I kind of appreciate that stuff in this movie. I feel it helps the pacing, so we're not spending an unnecessary large amount of time on scenes that we don't need to. Like, they just give us enough of it to illustrate, yes, we were here. Yes, we did this. Yes, we're turning home. Hey, look, the turtles. The four brothers.
Yeah. Well, that was actually something weird for the continuation of this anyway, is that Splinter tells them that they're becoming young men now.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, but no, they're not, because they're
turtles.
They have to be teenage. Well, yeah, for one thing, they're not men, but also it's part of their deal that they're teenage. It's 1/4 of their name. So they don't get to grow up, although that doesn't make any sense that they don't. But I mean, I don't know. Is there something about like turtles live a really long time, so they're technically teenagers for a really long time, just based on maturity? I don't know, but there's, I mean, they're just always teenagers for the same reason that Charlie Brown is still like 10 years old or something. I don't even know how old the Peanuts characters are, or any Bart Simpson, or pick anything where people don't age, because otherwise they stop being the characters. And they do avoid this time just copying the end of Amazing Spider-Man 1 like the first one did. But then they do lean on what has sort of become a tired sort of convention in the big movies like this recently, where there's the big thing in the sky that's being put together a piece at a time, and if we don't stop it in time, we're all going to die. Because that's kind of what's going on in Avengers. That's what's going on in the second Thor movie. It's just like the big thing in the sky we've got to stop. And
now I'm going
to see something a little different, maybe. Like,
I am going to give this one a little credit for being at least comical while they handle this, because we run into these scenes which are pretty action-y in a way, but they have good humor through them constantly, and it's mostly just through the dialogue. Because, like, even Crag, like, we can't take Crag seriously just because of the way he talks. But then, like, you have him on that side, and then you have Mikey on the other side. And so, like, we still have, like, Leo and Donatello who are trying to be serious because they've got shit to do. But, like, they are teenagers, and they do talk like how teenagers would talk like. So we run into these situations where they're fighting and jumping all over the place, and like silly shit is being said because they don't have the impulse control to not say silly shit. But then, like, we'll even cut over and we'll run into Megan, Casey, and Falcon, and like we'll run into that scene, and like that's pretty funny. Because Bebop and Rocksteady are driving around the base, And it's like, okay, you secure the portal, I'll handle them. Well, do you want to swap?
Yeah, that stuff is good. It's so that the edited footage thing
Yeah.
is weird because it's like this footage is edited. There must be some other version of the cameras. It's like, well, okay, so it's still looking at the same room though.
Yeah.
So all you really need is the footage from the other cameras that's the earlier version.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know how they could even have done what they did, because when you look at the difference between the two, then it's like there's smoke everywhere and like it's way darker than it is. And like the one where she just runs in and steals it and runs out is so much of it. Like she's walking behind the smoke and the steam, which there's no way you can get rid of.
Yeah.
So it doesn't.
We had to have her steal it twice so we could get the second thing of footage. She was really cooperative, confused, but she did what we needed her to. Thank you.
Yeah. There's a Jerry Seinfeld bit about the pictures of fugitives at the post office, and it's like they have the front shot, the side shot, and it's like maybe you should have held on to them while you were taking their picture. But so yeah, but it is like that's not how video editing works.
Well, the thing that kind of got me is they go back and he plugs the flash drive, or what looks like a flash drive, into this terminal, which I wouldn't think would have a flash drive or a USB port.
And he does nothing. It's just automatic.
It's just done. There you go. And so I'm like, really? I wouldn't think that the video file would be stored there. But if it's even the same angle, so like the footage.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It's not coming from that clock on the wall.
Yeah, it's just like, seriously? Like, that's ridiculous that it's the exact same camera that is going to provide us the unedited footage in the exact same angle and everything. Like, no.
No. Now, there are huge sections of this where I'm pretty sure nothing is real. Like when they're in the cargo of the plane, and they're fighting Bebop and Rocksteady. There's nothing. I don't think any of that's real. There's no cargo of the plane. There are no turtles. There's no Bebop and Rocksteady. There's nothing that's real. And a lot of the times you can kind of tell.
Yeah. Well, I would say the worst element of CG in the film that is very easily pointed at is whenever they've broken into the police headquarters and they're trying to escape, and then at the very last moment, Leo and Donatello show up, and they break through the glass and land. Mm-hmm. Because that moment where they're making contact with the glass and they're still midair, like, that is the worst of the CG in the entire movie. Because, like, the frames between them being midair and then touching the ground, they are actively different. Like, they look completely different. You can tell the quality immediately changes once their feet hit the ground.
I guess I didn't notice that in particular. I mean, just really in general for the whole movie, I haven't really been convinced that the turtles are real at any point. They still look, like really, really, like they're too shiny, and they're just not. They look like they're CG characters, which I guess may just be partly the difference between trying to do the turtles and doing something like Transformers is that smooth, non-organic surfaces are much easier to do in computers.
Yeah. Like if it's supposed to be a machine, machines look better as CG than anything
like
organic.
You can do shiny metal. Like that's why when new video game consoles come out, the first thing they always show is a racing game, because you can make cars look amazing.
Oh yeah.
And way better than you can people or anything soft And so it's like, I understand that it's difficult, but it's kind like they're the main characters of the movie. So when they never look real, they do a really good job with the physics of them and the way they move, and they seem like they're actually walking on stuff and things, but just the actual surface of them.
Well, I think a little bit of that is if they would make them less shiny, I think that would definitely help because it would draw less attention to the skin specifically. So, because like when you're looking at them, you're not just looking at them existing, like you're looking at the individual pieces. So whenever you look at Donnie's shoulder cam, like the shoulder cam looks real because it's not organic.
Yeah,
it looks like a machine, so it fits. But then whenever you start moving over, and then you get like the front part of his shell, you can start to see like the coloration of his skin. Like that's where it really stands out. And now whenever they're in the sewer and there's that lower lighting, like a lot of that I think does look better.
It's better, yeah, but it's just because you can't see it.
Yeah, and then like whenever they are outside, because especially when they were in the Brazilian rainforest and they were in the water, like if the water wasn't, I guess you'd say, providing some kind of mist coverage to dye some of it down, like you could very easily tell. Like there was no practical effect to this. Like it is very much all CG.
Yeah, and Bebop and Rocksteady aren't that convincing either.
No.
That was something that was weird about them, was when they're turning into the animal versions, they show like their clothes rip apart, and they show us a very clear shot of like his boot splitting open. One of them, I don't know which one. And then once they finish transforming,
their boot's
fine. And it's like, how did that happen? Where did you get new? And they're way bigger even. Like they got really big new boots. And it's like, where did you get those boots? Where?
Yeah.
Because everything else, like he's just kind of got the vest, and it's not big enough to close. And so the rest of it, they cheat. But it's like, where are the boot? What's with the boots?
Now, speaking of Bebop and Rock, I like them. Like, I like the way how they really did handle these characters, because they are supposed to be very over the top.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, they're supposed to be, like, there's no way. Like, it doesn't matter how serious the movie is. If you make them serious, then that's not them. Because they're supposed to be absolutely ridiculous constantly. And so even the human actors, whenever we run into those bits of the scenes in the beginning, I really liked their performances. You know, it's just like we are outrageously silly. We're getting paid to be outrageously silly. My name is Bebop. His name is Rocksteady. And we're enjoying the fuck out of making this movie.
Yeah.
And then, like, even with the bar scene, like, I really like that dialogue that they do right there. Now, the whole having the pickles, like, that bit was unnecessary. Like, they had to have it so they could have the GPS tracking scene, but at the same time, it just gets counterminded by the whole, we're tracking the isotopes.
Yeah, so they don't even need to track the phones.
Yeah, I think, like, that's a weak story element.
And also, it's like I remember in Tomorrow Never Dies, the second Brosnan James Bond movie, that because it's 1997 and no one knows what GPS is, every time they say GPS, it's like ICBM was in them, or not them, 5 Steps to Danger. Was that the right one? Whatever it was. The old 50s one with the secret plans for the missile defense system or something. They say GPS, global positioning system, like and Q says it the first time when he gives him the car, like he lists off all of the things that the car has, and it's like machine guns, missiles, this and that, and a GPS system. So it's like almost a gadget still. It's like it's as big a deal as having missiles in the car. And they say, when he says we have GPS in the phones, when he comes to question him at the bar, it's like that, where it's like, GPS, what is, like, how could you have that in a phone? And it's weird that it's that extreme.
Well, like, even the dialogue, like, because I like the dialogue at the beginning of the bar scene when the Shredder shows up, but then whenever Casey shows up, like, that's where the dialogue is weak. Because oh, so you're going to be handing out like free burner phones to people, and we all know that merchandise and tracking. I'm like, then what's the point of him even handling these burners if the burners he's handling are traceable? Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I can find them. Like, no, like I'm not going to deal with you as a dealer anymore if you're trying to track me after I specifically want this device so I can't be tracked.
Well, and he's not like an informant for the police or anything, is he?
No.
So why? Yeah, what reason does he have to make them traceable?
Yeah, like it doesn't make any sense.
No.
Um,
I do like the bartender is Dean Winters, who I feel like we've talked about before. I'm pretty sure he's been in something. Oh yeah, he was in John Wick. And he's also, I think, the mayhem guy for the commercials. And although I do want to, just so that we keep things consistent, refer to him as Discount Michael Madsen, which I might have done in the John Wick episode, because he is that, like, he's got the same kind of face, his the hair's slicked back, he kind of talks like that, and so it's the really, he really is a very Michael Madsen type, which isn't that fair to him because he's his own actor, but I knew Michael Madsen before I knew him, so I always think of him first. And like I'll see him as like, is that Michael Madsen? It's like, oh no, it's not. So yeah. So they were like the normal version of the story is that they were human first and then were turned into the characters that they are.
yes.
Because I don't...
Like Rocksteady and
Yeah.
Bebop, yeah. Like they were humans who got turned.
Was it by like the regular ooze? Or
Yeah,
something?
it was the normal ooze.
So,
Now, like, now this is what I remember from the old school cartoons. Like
Mm-hmm.
they may have redone or retold the story, because I know there is a comic book series which is regarded as being pretty good, and they may have done something different, but that's what I remember from being a kid and watching reruns of TMNT.
Mhm. And they do get the look right. Like he's got the mohawk and the purple glasses and
Yeah,
stuff. so
which is interesting that it stayed purple. I guess it's not like a normal dye, like a cover-up dye or something.
Yeah, that is weird. I don't think that he has naturally purple hair or
No,
anything.
well, you know, like
but-
people can dye their hair, but at the same time, I'm thinking, what if it's not an actual dye? What if it's like spray on?
Maybe.
Like he just sprays it on like normal paint, and that's why it stayed, because it's just a coating on the outside of the hair, anyways. Like
I mean-
that would make sense.
The larger concern than that is that he keeps the mohawk, not that it remains purple.
Yeah, he looks good with that mohawk.
Yeah, but warthogs don't have mohawks, so
He does.
yeah.
I like the fact that they just kind of drive around on motorcycles and like silly shit. Like they're just so ridiculous constantly. But it's like once Shredder shows up, they're like at full attention.
Yeah, because he's gonna kill them. They
Yeah.
feel like.
Yeah.
Although in this movie, I'm not sure if he would or could. Because
no, if it was movie one Shredder, they would be dead.
yeah, I don't know why he even puts up with them.
I don't know. It's probably because they're dumb and they do as they're told.
But they don't really. I guess they do get the thing, but
Yeah. I'm sure that was worth the 2 gigantic ass barrels of spaghetti. That's a lot of spaghetti.
yeah,
And I doubt they even ate all of it.
we didn't see them eat all of it.
No.
Yeah, it's weird
All that
it's-
wasted spaghetti.
It's weird that it's spaghetti. Is that like a thing? Do they famously eat spaghetti?
That
or
I don't remember.
Is it supposed to be like, well, they eat spaghetti instead of pizza
Pizza?
like the turtles?
I don't know, maybe.
I don't
Like that's not a thing I remember. I don't remember the spaghetti.
I don't really. I don't. I don't
Write us
remember,
and-
I don't really. Yeah.
Write us and tell us
letters
that
at
you,
www.pod.com if the Bebop and Rocksteady historically eat spaghetti.
And with or without meatballs.
yeah, I like meatballs.
I like meatballs. But some people just prefer a meaty sauce. Keep the meatball separate.
Yeah.
those people would be wrong.
If you do prefer a meaty sauce, it better be that there's meat in the sauce. It better not be any of that meat flavored sauce business.
That's bullshit.
I'll
I'll take the sauce either way, with or without the meat. But if it's like meat flavored sauce, like that's bullshit. At least give me cheese flavored sauce with like chunks of meat in it.
So the Technodrome is still out there in another dimension, then, right? Because it gets sucked back there when they shut the thing down.
Yeah. Well, see, that's a scene that I like the scene and I like how it works because they're like, okay, shut down the portal. Like if you shut down the portal, all the pieces stay on this side.
Yeah.
You want to leave the portal open until everything gets to the other side, then you shut it off.
Yeah. Because the whole beacon business. I feel like I'm leaving out a movie that there's some other big evil floating thing that we have to stop before it gets put together. Because I only mentioned two, but can't think what it was. Didn't other people see them in the first movie? Besides Vern and Megan Fox? April?
I thought so.
Because they act like no one knows. Like I know they like Vern goes off to keep it secret in his news van at the end.
Well, I was pretty sure it's been a hot minute since I watched the first one.
I haven't seen it since we did it for the show.
Yeah.
It's been like over a year, I guess.
And I'm like, wait a minute. I thought that they crash landed. You know, because they were on the tower and the tower was falling, and Raph was like spilling his guts out because he was afraid they were all gonna die. And then like they land kind of softly on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured people would still be nearby enough to see them.
Yeah, I mean, even if nobody did, just the idea that Vern did it himself is ridiculous and unbelievable. It's like, but how?
Well, at least I
With
think
what?
I think they should have at least provided us a story for it, other than he did it single-handedly. Because then it's like, well, how did you do it single-handedly? I don't know. I just did. Like, at least try to fabricate something to tell us.
Yeah.
Because your bullshit is showing.
Okay, so the Turtles one is episode 54, which is May of 2015. So it's over 2 years ago. So yeah, it's been a long time.
Things happen.
Yes, things happen, and we don't remember stuff. I don't remember a lot of what we said on the last episode, so so
Don't do drugs.
yeah.
That's what I say. How do you feel about Casey Jones in this?
I guess he's fine. I mean, I have no particular feeling for the character, and I don't know if he's being represented accurately or not, so I don't know. I mean, I know he wears a hockey mask and stuff, but
I'm going to admit, that's a weird-ass hockey mask.
yeah, it is weird. So the other part of the weirdness about Bebop and Rocksteady, though, is that so they know each other already, it seems.
Yeah.
And then they go to prison together,
Yeah.
which is weird.
A bit odd, yes.
Because I don't think you don't. If people commit crimes together, they don't get to go to the same prison. Because that just seems like a asking for something bad to happen.
Yeah, that's asking for trouble.
So that's probably, and for sure, don't transport them in the same
No.
vehicle on the way to prison.
Well, like if they're as bad as they are told, like we're told that they're really bad, and then they put both of them together and the Shredder all in one transport vehicle. So it's like, oh yeah, like we're more concerned about the Shredder, but like these two fucks are just in it just to be in it. So strategically, it sounds like bullshit. But
Yeah. It seems almost like it would be easier to make it work if there was somebody in the police department.
like who was dirty?
Yeah. So it isn't just the police happen to do something really stupid.
Well, speaking of police and stupid, do we feel like the police actually did the job of the police in this movie?
I feel like they're very easily convinced by very limited evidence.
Well, I understand like the woman, like the lead detective or whatever she's supposed to be.
I think she's supposed to be the chief of police.
Yeah. I don't know. She seemed a bit high and to not have already known who Casey was at that point. Especially with like that whole jurisdiction part. So, like, was she like with Homeland or some shit?
No, she's the chief of police.
Huh. Odd.
Which makes jurisdiction totally not a thing because they're the same agents. They're the same police department. So it's just like, well, we're putting higher level officers on this. It's not jurisdictional like it is if you have to bring in state police or the FBI or something. Although it seems like maybe you should bring in some higher level agency than just the NYPD because it's kind of serious business.
Like we have an international criminal.
Yeah, who I'm pretty sure is guilty of federal crimes, at least.
Yeah.
So I feel like she should be from the FBI. And that would
Yeah.
make that scene make sense.
Exactly.
But I guess they want to keep it that it's all, it's New York. It's about New York.
Well, that was something. Like when we get the scene where they come out and she's there and she's talking to him, and they're like, "Yeah, we're just four brothers from New York." And I kind of like that because it feels very at ease. I don't know the proper way to explain that, but it's like it feels like it touches me in some way where it's like, I know they're just characters, but it's like, yeah, like we're actually New Yorkers, even though we live in the sewer and eat pizza and we're ninjas who are mutants and teenagers and turtles.
Yeah.
I like who they casted for Casey. Like I know I'm kind of jumping back and forth, but just having someone with like that straight jaw, like he really does kind of fill out that really awkward looking hockey mask. But like that I like a Casey Jones.
So is he a generic square jaw?
No, because it's the jaw isn't super square. Like this ain't the Crimson Chin we're talking about. But,
I don't think he's square either.
But I kind of like him.
Squareness.
I kind of like him more than the Casey Jones that they got for the original TMNT movies.
Oh, like the 80s ones?
Yeah, because I feel like that Casey Jones was more of like, I'm a stoner who plays hockey and fights crime. And like this feels like a Casey Jones who's like, I play hockey and I fight crime.
Yeah.
So I definitely approve of this Casey Jones more. I still don't like Megan Fox. I don't like I don't like anything with the Megan Fox bit in these movies. I really don't.
She doesn't have the yellow jacket this time.
Yeah.
Like that was something that I was at least happy to see in the first one. Was
yeah.
that, oh look, it's the April O'Neil jacket. Like that's nice, but nope.
You couldn't have at least given us that. At least once. It's like because she goes through that whole scene where it's like we're gonna start off and we're gonna hack up Tyler Perry's shit, and then we're going to turn around, and then we're going to magically make our skirt disappear as we're walking along, stealing clothes.
Mhm.
So we can look like a slutty schoolgirl, steal another guy's cowboy hat, put it on the dude that we're trying to steal the information from. Like, what?
Yeah. Well, yeah, she's stealing clothes in the middle of Grand Central Station
Yeah.
in New York. And it's like, nobody saw that?
I mean, like, why
No
couldn't she?
Security cameras saw that. There's no transit cops. There's no NYPD standing nearby. Like, no one saw this.
Yeah, I know we got to have that sexy scene, but, like, at the same time, like, for practicality's sake, she just has to get close enough to him.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, people moving about, it wouldn't have been hard.
No, just walk. And it's for, like, 2 seconds. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's at 99% or something. And,
Yeah. And because that was the thing. It's like, okay, so she's wearing a watch. Take the watch off, put it in a hand, the hand that is going to be the closest to the device the guy's carrying. That way it doesn't look so obvious that you're trying to, like, stick your wrist out there towards a person, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's awkward and that draws attention, which is obviously counterproductive.
It's also super short range to be
Yeah.
like fictional
Fucking
high-level
Bluetooth,
technology.
man.
Yeah,
Because
it's
Bluetooth, like, we get a logo for Bluetooth on it.
yeah, but
So
then it's
you
like you
can't
gotta be
bullshit
within
us.
like 5 feet or something, and
3. It was 3 feet. It was ridiculous. Ugh.
so how do we feel about stars?
Well, this is a bit awkward because I still keep my same opinion that I had back when I saw it in theaters. I'm going to give it 5 stars because I enjoy watching this movie. It's got its flaws. I know it's not perfect, but I can't help but to enjoy myself.
I don't know. I guess I do, at least for most of it, have a good time. But like, it's a big problem for me that the turtles don't look real.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, that's the what you had one job. The turtles have to look real, and they don't. So, that's hard for me to. I mean, it's fine, I guess, but and it is for sure better than the. I guess. Quite sure. It is for sure better than the first one,
Yeah.
but
God, their faces were terrible.
no, I mean just in general, it's better than the first one.
Oh, absolutely. Well, whenever I talk to people about it, and I'm like, "Hey, did you see the first TMNT?" And they're like, "Yeah, I didn't like it." Well, have you seen the second one? No, I didn't like the first one, so I didn't watch the second one. And I'll tell them, "Hey, you should watch the second one. It's definitely better than the first one. Like, if you didn't like the first one, you should enjoy the second one. Second one's pretty good."
So I feel like I don't like it nearly as much as you. So, I think I'm gonna have to say 3, which sounds really harsh, and I'm not sure I can really justify it. But just like I don't really care like about watching it again. Really, I don't remember what I gave the first one, but I don't know. Like, I don't want this to be the reason, and it's not, but like, I feel like if I give it 4, they're gonna be like, "You gave Wonder Woman 4. Like, this is not as good as Wonder Woman." Like, no, it's not. But that's not thing. We don't compare things to other things.
Well,
So-
we try not to.
Well, yeah, that's true. We do compare things to other things because multiple things do exist. So
Yeah.
it's impossible not to. All right, fine. I'll give it 4.
Hey, that's
I
fine.
don't think I did. I
Do what you got to do.
disenjoyed it.
I mean, this isn't Interstellar.
It's not Interstellar. It's for sure not. For sure, don't let the first one stop you. Because they almost don't even deserve to be sequels of each other.
No.
Because they change so much that it really is just incidental that there was a first. And it's not, except for the Falcon stuff, there's nothing that really carries over.
Yeah.
because they tell us who April O'Neil is, and we see her do news at one point.
And she seems to do more news in this one than she did in the first one anyways.
Well, it's one time, but yeah.
Tagline, raise some shell. What?
I hate punny taglines like that. Like the one for Baywatch was terrible. Or not the one for Baywatch itself, but the pre-posters, so it was like buy your tickets now, and it would say buy your tickets now, beaches, and it was spelled like beach, and I was like, oh god, this is the worst thing ever.
Please
stop it.
Yeah, please stop.
Please stop.
Well, if they make a third one, I'll go see the third one.
Yeah.
Because hopefully they got the formula good enough from this one that if they keep it the same way, it'll be watchable and probably enjoyable. But if they try to revert back to the way the first one was, it's just going to be shit. Because something's got to happen with Shredder. Like, he's got to thaw himself out and teleport, and
Yeah.
like he's got to fight the turtles once again.
So yeah.
The ultimate limited
Extended 20th anniversary
extreme
collector's diamond edition.
wrapped in its own new Millennium limited edition special collector's case on Blu-ray, on special edition DVD,
On video and
Pioneer Laserdisc. Only for a limited time.
So this is the collector's edition, which is the part of the show where we feature a special feature, which was actually the original name of it, but then it was too close to Favorite 50, and we didn't want to have everything be fully F segment names. So it's not called
we didn't
that
want it
anymore.
to be fully F.
It's not fully F. You never go full F. But so this one is another physical one, which I've done a couple of, at least one before. I know I did one from the Terminator 2 Extreme DVD. But this is another physical one. This comes from either the Blu-ray or DVD editions of the 30th anniversary edition of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or at least the one that everything comes in. I don't know. There may be reissues of it now that are a lot more limited. I'm not sure, but and it is it's a poster. It's a replica of the original poster on one side, but then on the other side, it's this thing called A View from Above. And what that is because there are 3 different versions of the movie, and there are differences between them, because there's the original version, the special edition, and the director's cut, which is the most recent one. And the special edition is the one where you see him go inside the ship, and everybody hates it because he didn't leave it to your imagination. So don't watch that one. Even Spielberg will tell you that, and he's the one that did the stuff to it to start with. But so what it is 3 timelines of the 3 different movies with notes on where there are differences and what the differences are. So it tells you in a physical paper text form, and a couple of them have, well, not a couple of them, several of them have pictures of some of what the difference is, of what the differences are between the 3 versions, which is something that's really handy and would be nice if more versions of movies that have multiple versions in them, like the Blade Runner set and the Alien, the Alien movies set, because it's like, well, wait, what's the difference between this one and the director's cut and the special edition and it's like right here, it's right here on a thing you can look at and see.
Yeah, I think that's kind of important, is whenever you're going to release multiple versions or you're going to do these edits, at least tell people why they should buy this. Like, oh, well, like we edited it to have more blood in it. Like, okay, well, I really don't need that. And then you have a guy over there and he's like, hey, I like blood. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, things that I'm a fan of, I like to either have or at least see all of the various different versions of. And like the Blade Runner ones, there's each different one of them has things about it that I like better than the others, and things that are better in the others than in this particular one. And so they're all interesting for their own purposes. And in that case, there were 5 different cuts of it, but rather than just 3. But it's just, yeah, it's nice to know what the differences are, so you don't have to put them on side-by-side TVs or something and see when something changes and they don't sync up anymore. I've never actually done that, just in case you're wondering. Actually, that's not true. I have played 2 different copies of a thing on side-by-side TVs, but it was so that I could show my parents what the difference is between the actual widescreen version of a DVD and the pan and scan full screen version. And that was the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man I did it with.
Back when DVDs would say on the top of it full screen and widescreen.
Yeah.
And people would buy the full screen for their widescreen TVDs and get pissed because it wasn't.
Yeah.
Like that's for if you have a tube style. Thank you.
Yeah. What it really should, instead of that, and instead of putting it on the back in tiny little text that nobody reads, they should have put, like they used to on the old VHS tapes, this film has been modified from its original version, like on the front, so people are like, whoa, I don't want it to be modified, like I want the movie. And then maybe that would have stopped people from having all these incorrect copies of movies. Your full screen DVD is wrong, unless it's A Bug's Life, in which case both versions are equally correct, because Pixar went in and like moved characters around, reframed shots, and totally redid the entire movie so that you don't lose anything in the full screen.
That's mighty
version.
nice of them.
So yeah, so either one, like if you have the VHS of A Bug's Life, you can watch it and you're seeing what Pixar meant you to see in that version. And so there's actually, it wasn't just somebody pan and scanning it that didn't have anything to do with it, and so things get cut out. And so that's that. Because we're not picking a new Favorite 50, because we pick those on Favorite 50 episodes, and so that will be the next one. And which, if you need to be reminded, just in case, is Bedknobs and Broomsticks. So you have a little more time now to get to it if you haven't gotten to it yet. And that's all we have to say about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. We'll see you next time.
Later.
You know, isn't it kind of strange that this is Paramount, the people who said people don't see movies with colons in the title?
And then, bam! Colon.
Yeah. It's like, what happened?